Hey, this is Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm doing a new segment called Why You Should Play This, where I briefly go through a game, how the game plays, and then 5 reasons why I think you should play it, and 5 reasons why you perhaps shouldn't play it. In any case, today's game is going to be One Night Ultimate Werewolf. This is one of the games from my personal top 20 games of all time. It is an incredible game, lots of, biasing here there, but that's why I should play it. It's an incredible game where it's a hidden role game where multiple players have a role assigned to them. Then during the night, different things happen. So for instance, one character may have their role switched with another character. You may have your own role switched to one in the middle. You may have started as a werewolf and you know you're a werewolf, but you may no longer be a werewolf. Basically, it's a hidden role game where the single night, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, that single night changes everything. This leads to a follow-up. Once the night's over, this leads to a follow-up where the various players have to talk to each other and try to figure out what happened and whose team you're actually on, and basically it's every man for himself in the most literal sense. Even if you were on a team, you may not have been on a team, and you need to figure that out and win. So to begin with, I will start with the reasons why you perhaps should like it. So to begin with, it's short. It's very short. Every round clocks in at 6 to 8 minutes, depending. You set the timer, but that's a firm timer. This isn't this game is 15 minutes, but it's actually not 15 minutes. If you set the timer for 6 minutes, you have 6 minutes to finish the round. You can rattle through 5 games of this in half an hour, just a little over perhaps if you count for the setup or teardown of a new round. So it's short. If you need a filler that fills your filler, this is a short game that will clock in pretty quickly and is a lot of fun for it. Secondly, it is, if you like laughing, and I don't mean obviously everyone likes laughing, but if you like laughing with your friends, if you like a game experience where trying to figure out what happened leads to this whole, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, this is incredible, that just happened, and you were really this, and I can't believe you pulled one over. This game lends itself to a very hilarious gaming session whenever you go through what actually happened and to see who actually got one over the other person. It is a lot of fun. I assume most people like laughter, but when I say if you like laughing, I just mean some people are looking for more of a serious Euro gaming experience. This is going to give you a fun, enjoyable, in the laughing group party style setting. Reason number 3 is if you like the idea of, reason number 3 is if you like hidden role games. If you like hidden role games, this is a hidden role game. If you like Resistance, if you like Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, if you like Battlestar Galactica or any of those games, if you like hidden role games, if you have had a good track record with hidden role games, this is another one to give a shot. Reason number 4 is a little different. Reason number 4 is if you don't like hidden role games, because you don't like the pressure of lying. If you don't like the pressure of lying, but you like the concept, this is one to give a shot. One of the reasons for that is one of the reasons I love this game the most is it's so accessible to new players. When comparing it to another hidden role game where there's certain patterns that are established, and if you catch someone in a lie, therefore they're clearly on X team or whatever it is, that doesn't happen here. You can and should lie until you figured out what happened, and perhaps even after you figured out what happened. Meaning this is a game where when you're caught in a lie, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you're fishing for more information. It's part of the process. You say, I did X in the night. I swapped your cards. And someone's like, well, you couldn't have done that. I did that. Great. Now you know a little more. Or perhaps they're lying. The point is that you can lie in this game and it doesn't mean that you're bad, which takes a lot of the pressure off of lying. I have found that people who stress about the lying in hidden role games because they don't want to be caught as the bad guy, you don't need to worry about that here. You can lie, you can be caught at lying, it is all good, it takes a lot of the pressure away. And reason number 5 is that if you like logic puzzles, if you enjoy the process of seeing a bunch of facets in a game, like I talked about this in my review of Cryptid, if you like seeing different facets of a game going on together and then figuring out what happened, this is a great game. I know it's weird to call a hidden role game a logic puzzle, but this is really like the closest to a logic puzzle I find. Because of all those lies flying back and forth, your job is to effectively find the strain of truth that fits in between those lies. You're really looking at a pattern and saying, well, what he's saying makes sense to me, and it aligns with what she's saying, but what she's saying doesn't make sense with him, and you're trying to find a thread that all makes sense. Sometimes there's more than one thread, and then you have to know that. If you see 2 possible threads and you're still trying to figure out which one's possible, you need to push a little further and find another data point. This is a game where you're constantly trying to add your own data points and discover other people's data points in order to lead yourself from having no clue what happened to what happened. That are 5 reasons why I believe you should like this game if you if those speak to you. The reasons you might not like this game are as follows. Number one is if you don't like being in the dark. I don't mean literally, I just mean that sometimes you're pulling those logic puzzle threads and figuring it out. Other times you have no clue what's flying. That might be in the beginning, it might be in the end. If you don't like being in the dark in games, this is a game where you'll be in the dark just as often as you're the one who's finding out what's going on. If that's not your cup of tea, that's not your cup of tea. Reason number two is non-perfect information. If you need perfect information in your games, this is not the game for you because of, again, what I said earlier about the logic puzzles. Sometimes there are multiple facets of things that could be going on, and it is rare that you can perfectly deduce the one option available to you. While this is a logic puzzle, it's a logic puzzle that often has multiple outcomes, and unless you're really, in 6 minutes, there's only so much deduction you can do, so you often have to pick between different possible things that might have happened, and that leads to an outcome where you're like, well, I've done this, and he did that, and they did this, therefore you're the werewolf. And they may not be. And as soon as you turn over the card, you find out what actually did happen, which also lines up with all those data points. So if you're frustrated by having cleverly solved what's going on, but still being wrong, this might not be the game for you. The next reason is that, and I mentioned lying. If you don't like lying, and this is different than my like, because my reason to like the game is if you don't like the pressure of lying. But if you don't like lying at all, then that is what it is. Unfortunately, lying is a big part of this game. It's going to help yourself, it's going to help your group, it's going to improve the experience. If you find lying distasteful in general, even without the pressure aspect of you just forget pressure, it's nothing to do with pressure, you just don't want to lie, this is probably not a game you'll enjoy. Reason number four is it has an app. You could play it without the app, that's totally fine. I find that you really don't get the same level of experience. It adds a nice background. Resistance, for instance, is a great game. You can rattle through it fairly easy with a moderator or whatnot. But in this game, the app is near essential. I generally don't like games with apps, and yet I don't have a problem with this at all. But if you are really turned off by apps, or you just don't have a smartphone, then this is going to be a game that I'd probably recommend skipping. You can try it out, but it's definitely going to take away from the experience if you don't have the app running. And finally, the reason number five not to like this game is if your group is very stiff. If you or your group are stiff, and I'll explain what I mean in a second, this game is not going to be a good experience. Now, what I mean by stiff, and this is the biggest one really, the biggest reason why I think people might not like this, is this game is all about jumping into it, throwing out a lie, loosen up the other person, countering the other person with your own lie. It's all about the experience of jumping in, diving, and trying to really figure out what happened. And that also includes the laughter and the poking and the, well, it's you, no, it's you. This is not a game for a bunch of people who are going to sit there, arms folded, and just wait for someone else to talk. If one person is doing that in your group session, the game can probably still survive. But if multiple people are doing that, this is going to be a dead game. This game thrives on people saying things that are either true or untrue, so that you can then figure out what happened next. This game dies on the table when 2 or 3 players sit there, just watch, and don't lend information to the game. I've had games like that. It definitely takes away from the experience. I can't say it's a bad experience because usually they're a minority at the table, but it definitely is the closest thing I've had to ruining the game experience, where people just refuse to divulge information at all and they just sit there and watch. It's going to kill the game. I understand that there's a pressure to both tell the truth and to lie. I've told people that there's no pressure to be caught, but there is still a pressure to contribute. Even though there's no pressure to be caught, there's still a pressure to contribute, and that has resulted in a few people, definitely the exception, just sitting there and folding their arms. And if that's your friends or yourself for that matter, this game is probably not for you. That's basically my summary. That is why I like, well, not why I like, this is One Night Ultimate Werewolf. These are my reasons why I believe the game might be a game that's a good fit for you and your group, or why it might not be a good fit for you and your group. That's basically it. I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video.